First of all, I would like to say that this video guide is a self-preference guide, and it isn't the best guide there is or the ultimate guide. But that said, in this video, I will be helping you on how to build your toon's bloodline and lineage so that you'll know what to do from Act 1 to Act 6 and so on. So this is our lists of contents, and it covers Act 1 to Act 6, Saoirse's build, Tavern Traits, reputations and barony, castle upgrades, marriage, and of course the bloodline and lineage, and last but not the least, or probably the most important part, if I may say so, is the heirloom, Loomy. Also bear in mind that all of these contents is connected to each other, apart from Saoirse's that is, and probably the Heirloom. This is because you can't upgrade your lineage from a commoner blood, which is a Galtian blood, to royal bloodline without the other contents, and most especially the marriage. So pay attention and listen carefully, because you can only hear this one time and cannot hear it again. Since this message will self-destruct after you finish hearing it, and I'm just kidding. Lol. So I'll skip the Act 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to start the guide in Act 4 because this is the most important chapter in the story, and because this is where we get to choose to get the Baron title or to get the signing reputation to friendly and whatnot. Peanut. So here are the choices and the results of the choices that we will make when we meet King Atlian for the first time in Act 4. If you choose, treasure fills the home, then you will get 400 gold coins. And if you choose to become invincible, then you'll get the blue set of equipments, which is not bad of a choice, but then again, you have Saoirse's as your weapon. So, nah, this choice shouldn't be here. Who would even choose this? Even noobs know how to not choose this one, right? Next, if you choose the Grasp the Power, you will be given the Baron title, which, in my opinion, is the best choice, and I'll explain why later on. And lastly, if you choose to end the war, then the game will be over. Just kidding. If you choose to end the war, then your reputation to the Kingdom of Signing will be friendly, and to the other kingdoms your reputation will become accepted. And having your reputation reach accepted very early in the game is a good thing, because this will allow you to access the royal shop in each of the royal cities. Which means you can buy the materials needed for your character's job class, which also means you can change to Tier 3 job class, which is the highest class tier thus far. But in my opinion, we don't need to have Tier 3 job class yet. Since we have Saoirse's as our super weapon, plus Sheng Feng, who can carry our team up until we get our main toon's lineage to marry an earl, that is, if we are lucky, plus we need the Baron title to marry an earl in the first place. So that covers our reputation and barony content in Act 4. And before we go to Act 5, I would like to expand a little on Baron title and why I choose it, then the reputation, and why I think the Baron title is the best choice out of all 4 choices. We have 4 nobility titles or ranks in this game, and the highest rank we can achieve is Duke rank. And I choose the Baron title for 15 reasons. Well, 14 reasons, I think. Or I think it's 12. But anyways, my first reason is the Baron's bloodline. The Baron's bloodline, as you can see here, has 12% to 50% chance to pass that blood to its offsprings, or your descendant, or lineage. This just means that there's a chance for your offsprings to get a 12% to 50% of your blood if you're a Baron. Also keep in mind, blood or bloodline here in this game determines your stats, meaning the higher the blood that's jugging in your veins means higher stats. But sadly, even if we get the Baron title, we're still 100% Galtian, which means we have poor stats, poor facial traits and whatnot. Coconut. My other reason why I picked the Baron title is, we are able to marry our descendants to an earl, but we need all kinds of traits and ability to do that. And that's where traits and tavern will come into play, later. Never mind, let's just do the Tavern Traits guide now. So in Act 5, this is where you want to go to the tavern and check for a person who has the eminent traits, or the amusing, specially amusing, because that's where mostly the cultured ability is in the amusing traits. But if you want to try and find the amusing traits starting in Act 1, then it's up to you, because depending on their age, they will retire before your main toon's 2 sons will be born, because that's what we are aiming here for, to let our main toon's 2 sons to learn the cultured ability so that they have the highest chance to marry an earl and so on. Oh, and make sure that your toon only has the cultured ability to teach, so that's the only lesson that they will learn at school. Now that we've covered the Tavern and Traits reputation and barony, let's talk about the marriage, bloodline, and lineage, because I really saved this topic for last because I want to go in depth with this topic. Well, not really, lol, and it's not last since we got Saoirse's built to talk about, and the heirloom, but you get the idea, right? No? Well, never mind. So for marriage, well, forgive me because I don't have a photo where you gotta chose who you're going to marry your main toon with as part of the story, but we are going to go in depth with this one. Well, somewhat. So first tip for marriage for beginners who didn't chose Hilda, and who's still trying to figure out the game, and for those who think they made a bad decision and still didn't marry an earl then, my advice for you is to delete that account and make a new account, and this time around, go and marry Hilda. This is because Hilda has a blue sets of gears that you can use, and you can only buy this leather gears in Okanini, Royal City, which means you need your reputation to the Northern Freemen to accept it to access their royal shop. And on top of that, Hilda has fangs. Not beautiful as Argamoth, etc., Phalos, but Hilda has fangs, and that's all. And she has blue gears, and she is also of a commoner blood, lol. Which means your lineage's stats will be a commoner, which means weak, ha ha ha. But seriously speaking, it matters less who we should marry, because our strategy is to let our 2 sons marry, or try to marry an earl, well, at least our firstborn, because our firstborn will inherit our baron title, and our secondborn will get the knight rank, and the third and so on will be inherit no title. But if both of the parents has the baron or earl title, then the first 2 children will inherit their parents' title, the third will get the lower rank, and so on and so forth. Oh, and I remember one of my many reasons why Hilda is the best choice, other than his free blue set of gears, because if we marry the signing noble, which is Kathy, or Hillist woman, which is Ursula, worst Kathy, then it will be hard for you to remove their bloodline in your veins, which means stats. It will be difficult to change stats then than being a pure commoner. This is Kathy's stats and bloodline. She has 3 blood, Galtian, Hill, and Sinist. The more you mixed your blood, the more your stats will be chaotic. So the plan is to marry Hilda, which is a commoner, and then the 2 child should try to marry a higher status. This will be possible when you have the cultured ability, and additionally, the goddess's buffs will help us marry a higher rank than ours. So it's important to set up Aufe's statue and Kreen's statue. This 2 statue or goddesses will help you increase your chance of marriage when praying, not 100%, but it's worth it. And finally, our last guide in this video is the Heirloom and Saoirse's build and castle upgrade. So, in around Act 5, you will be given a task to build your first heirloom as part of the story. And I don't have a photo of that choice either, because I forgot to screenshot it. But you will be given 4 choices on what weapon you should forge your heirloom with. And if I remembered it correctly, the choices is sword, 2-hand sword, short bow, and spear. I choose the 2-hand sword because my plan is to get my main toon and my house or lineage play Blade Master. But again, it matters less on what weapon you choose to forge your heirloom with, because you can always break it down in your blacksmith and get the soul crystal back and forge another heirloom with it. For Saoirse's build, well, I choose to play her as a claymore, female warrior, for 10 reasons. My first and probably my final reason is, well, the claymore warrior is the only tier 3 job class that's available for us to have in around Act 5. And since Saoirse has good deck stats, actually her deck stats is actually rank A, which means the Claymore Warrior job class is suited for her. You know why? Because parrying attacks requires high deck stats. Because you need to have higher deck stats than the attacker in order for you to trigger parry. And although Saoirse's stats is not that good compared to an Earl's stat, but Saoirse lives for 150 or so years, and what matters is she can help capture some castle early in the game depending on her level. So my advice is, focus on leveling Saoirse as much as possible, and Sheng Feng of course, but more on Saoirse so she can capture castles for materials for your castle upgrades. Now for our last but not the least guide is the castle upgrades. My advice for you in castle upgrade is, prioritize on upgrading your castle's levels, training ground, and castle hall. You don't need to upgrade your market or your blacksmith just yet. Not until your castle's level is level 6 or 7. And that's it for this self-preference guide. I hope you learned something or not. As long as you watch my guide is all that matters. Thank you for watching and see you again on my next videos. Also, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet.